Welcome, everyone, to the Winning Together podcast. My name is Shay, the Rad Warrior Aslet. Breaking open a coach's perspective today with Hazel. I put fear in a headlock, Mason.
Yes, I do.
Good to have you today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Everyone who's listening, thank you for joining us. The Winning Together podcast is about keeping it real and keeping it authentic and staying hyper-focused on what you can stop doing to win in your life. And I love that we look at what the science is or the facts or the experience or the workable ways of doing a rad life, and we talk about application. And the analogy from the get-go, it stems from this test, right? This Taekwondo instructor will show a picture of two warriors one's in a headlock, and after a pretty even fight, he catches him and he's just in there. And then he asks these, and then most of them are champion fighters, who do you see you as? Who are you in this picture? And without fail, every single one of them says, "Oh, I'm the person who's putting the headlock on." When you ask people, first of all, I know they're maybe inexperienced with fighting, but when you ask people that are in the struggle or where they aren't engaging their life in the way that makes them feel powerful, mm-hmm. I can't remember a time when they say, "Oh, I'm totally in the headlock." Big difference in mindset and how you see the problem. And we're going to talk about fear and it having you in a headlock and you feeling like it's the warrior that's always going to get you, to this aha, place where it's, "Oh no, fear, I'm putting you in the headlock. Like, let's go, bring it."
Yeah.
And what you're learning and growing from that, we're going to talk about some of the alcoholic's path in finding like a rad life and joy and fulfillment. We're going to talk about, we'll probably touch on, you don't need to go all the way to the bottom to turn around and go up. In fact, if you can learn how to not go till it's really, really awful, you can get pretty rad at turning that much quicker in your life.
Right.
What I do also want to convey, Hazel, is you are a coach. You're a transformative guide to people who want coaching on how to be connected to a life worth being alive in. You and I both do that work for I Am Recovery, sponsors this podcast, first of all,
right,
and provide option to have a life coach. So you're getting a coach's perspective today. That's a lot of what to do and how to do it. There's some urgency. There's a light in you that says, I've got to share this message. Mm-hmm. And I don't know who this is for or why it's important. Somebody listening right now, or we see the one. So I know there's somebody out there that needs to hear this from you at this time. And that's why we're here.
Yeah, 100%. So I feel like my greatest work that I've done on myself and my greatest experience that I can give to others is this idea of transformation. And it is this idea of overcoming shame, overcoming guilt, overcoming yourself to be more of yourself. And as I've worked with women in AA and as I work with people here at I Am, I think that's something that everybody can relate to.
And you're not going after it either.
Right.
But when you see fear or when fear sees you, you have this attitude that is, let's go. Okay, here we are. Let's dance.
Yeah.
And you can actually see yourself putting fear in a headlock at times. You're going to get your butt whooped sometimes.
Yeah.
And you're going to be wanting to tap out.
Right. So fear to me today is a guide. It's a guidepost along my way. And the feeling I get around fear is...
Well, that idea is going to change, but the feeling of being powerful in the face of fear, that's wired into your body, your brain, your heart. I'm curious if that shows up different as a way of not being so outcome driven, but being more process driven, more my life is generating the feelings I want and not always the outcome, and then I'm okay with that.
Yeah. That's a huge shift that I've made because I have always been outcome focused, and the idea behind I have to get to a certain place and it has to look a certain way, and I have to be a certain person to be okay, to be accepted. And now I know that it's who I become in the process is who I'm ultimately supposed to be.
How afraid do you get of fear when it shows up?
It still scares me.
Good.
Still scares me. But fear is
You
now.
say that while you're smiling, by the way.
I know,
so
right?
It excites you too.
It does, because fear, it doesn't hold me back anymore. And I know that I've overcome fear enough to know that I'm strong enough to face it. And that if I face it with that strength, I will become who I'm supposed to be. I think for me, fear and pain go hand in hand.
Okay.
I was telling you earlier, like I really feel like pain is something that I lean into. Pain is what propels me to make a change. I hate being in pain. I hate being in emotional pain. I kind of like being in physical pain. Like
I was going to say, if somebody who says they don't like pain, you should put yourself there a lot.
Yeah, I want to like push myself. So I guess I see pain as like a limit that I can come right up against, and I can, if I push hard enough, I can push through that pain and I find strength on the other side. So fear and pain go together for me, and pain is what motivates me to change, right? I will do whatever it takes to not stay in pain. So for example, when I decided to get sober, I had been like in this place where I knew I was like dying inside, and this drink, this alcohol, this addiction was so powerful. It was more powerful than my will to love my kids, my will to love my husband, my will to put those things first. It was so powerful.
And you're a mama bear, you're a warrior, you're a fighter, you're a lover.
That's big.
Huge.
Yeah, it's big. And that's what addiction can do. It can override those like innate characteristics that we have. But I was dying inside. I was dying inside. And the idea that we say in AA that my life had become unmanageable, I was in that place. And that was a painful place, and I didn't want to live there anymore. And so one morning I woke up and I was like, today's the day. I'm going to go to a meeting. And I did, and I never looked back. I never looked back. I became willing to change my entire life to get sober. I dragged my little babies to AA meetings that had childcare, and I left those kids crying in childcare so I could go downstairs and sit in a meeting.
At that moment, felt impossible.
Yeah.
And you probably wanted to turn around about 500 times from wherever you drove from to get there.
Yeah.
And the few hours before, like,
right.
No, I'm not going. I got to go.
It's too hard. It's too much. And I remember like my third meeting, I read on the schedule, like there was a meeting and it had like a little C next to it. So I thought that meant childcare. So I dragged my babies there, and I was kind of late, and I walk in and I got,
alcoholic.
Totally.
Performer.
Yeah. Here I am. And I walk in there, and it turns out that the C on that meeting meant closed, meaning not open to people who were not alcoholics. It did not mean childcare. And so I sat there like mortified that here I had my babies with me. And I could have taken that moment and said, this is too much. This is too hard. That could have been an excuse. And I probably would have taken something like that.
Yep.
Screw these meetings, like they're not here to help me.
So dumb.
Yeah. And instead, I called somebody in the program in the car after I buckled my kids in. I called somebody in the program and said, oh my gosh, this just happened to me. And they were like, it's okay.
You let it break you.
Yeah. Yeah. I let it, I let it
break the old you.
Yes, that's it. I let it break the old me. And I just said, I want to get sober more than I care about being embarrassed.
Ooh.
So the second meeting I ever went to was this huge meeting of women only. And
in California,
in
right?
California, yeah. And it took a lot of courage because it was at my son's preschool.
Oh.
And because it was also a church. And so I let that be an excuse that kept me away from it for a long time. How you're perceived
growing up is huge.
For sure.
Yep.
It still is a big deal to me.
Totally.
I still care about that. And I walk into this meeting late again. And I walk in there and not a single one of these women looks like an alcoholic. And at the time, I thought that an alcoholic looked like a bum on the street drinking out of a paper bag, or a sloppy
woman that's lost her teeth. And
totally has lost everything and is just pathetic.
Pathetic.
Yeah. And that is a dangerous perception that we can have about alcoholics, and one that I try to bust that myth, because I walked into that room and I saw beautiful women. And I don't just mean beautiful, it wasn't so much this outer beauty, nice hair, nice whatever. I saw happy, beautiful women that looked like me. And maybe not me, who I aspired to be, because I was kind of a mess at that time.
You also felt comfortable in the crowd. Oh, these are my people.
These are my people. Mm-hmm. I looked at them and I thought, if these women can be alcoholic and this is what they look like, I can be an alcoholic. It doesn't have to look like a mess, somebody in jail, somebody whatever. And if that's you, that's where your alcoholism took you.
You're generating a really interesting insight for me, because one of the common experiences you and I have is in our must experience type of attitude towards this life is not for me. I want joy. I want fulfillment, purpose, connection. We didn't lose the family. We didn't lose the car, or the job, or the house, or the money, and as you're talking, I'm thinking about how many times either in our lives or we come across people who I'm here in these meetings, but alcohol is not really a problem for me. So I'll be with you, you people, because I'm I'm
doing you a favor.
Yeah. But I'm not really that
I'm
person.
not that bad. Yeah.
What you and I have been able to tap into is we've been let go of what it looks like, because you could have all the I don't look like that person.
Yeah.
I don't have. Yeah, I'm in my 50s. I don't have a job. Yeah, I live with my brother. Yeah. Oh, I'm not in a relationship. No, my kids don't want to talk to me. But I'm not. I still have my teeth.
Yeah.
But you and I, we tapped into, this is not the feeling I want to generate, because it should feel different. Mm-hmm. It doesn't. What gives?
Yeah.
And I will figure this out.
Yeah.
That's powerful.
Yeah, it is, because a rock bottom can look a lot of different ways. And in the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous, one of the most powerful stories it talks about is a man who still has a car in the garage, a house, a family, a job, and he is dying inside. Mm-hmm. And he is an alcoholic to the worst degree. And I read that story and I was like, oh, that's me. I can relate to that. But I think that is the insidiousness of the disease, is that we can think we're okay because we still have, right? And I think it keeps a lot of people going in their addiction, because we can fool ourselves into thinking it's not that bad. And I think I was given these gifts of clarity where I was like, I have this husband, I have these kids, I have this life I want to be living, and I am losing it all. I will lose it all. I was at this jumping off place, and when I looked down at the bottom of that cliff, it was destruction of everything I care about. It was loss of everything I had. And I let that be a turning point in my life where I said, I do not want to go there. I will not allow this disease to cost me everything. And I will take this minute, this second that I have, to pause and say, I'm going to choose another path. I'm going to choose right now to change everything. And it's funny, in my recovery, that is a place where my husband is the most proud of me, because he sees that moment as a huge sign of my strength, that I could take that and not have to jump over the edge and hit this rock bottom, but that I could say, today is enough. This is enough suffering. It can stop here.
Yeah, where you have been wise enough to partner up with somebody who balances you out well, and their consistency and their preference for having a life that works, kind of.
Yeah.
Because part of my experience was my wife, her kind of attitude is like, just stop. It's dumb. It's not good.
Right.
It's causing all these problems. Why don't you stop? So she didn't get it.
Yeah.
She didn't get it. And for you to allow, his values to become your values, to get you where you needed to be, and let that feel good, because that was new drug, like feeling good.
Yeah. Yeah. Having somebody believe in me, having, you need
his activation energy at that point.
I do. And I need it a lot in my life. And he is like the greatest thing for me,
Beaming.
Yeah, I am beaming, because the thing I love about my husband the most is that he loves all of me all the way, all the time. I am a lot. I am a lot of personality. I am a performer. I love to be the center of attention. I have this big personality that I can't even try to keep it in, And in other relationships in my life, and even in my family early on as a kid, it was like, it's too much. It's too much.
So if you could just stop being you.
Yeah, that'd be great for all of us.
All of us would just be, get along.
Yeah. And my husband has never been that way. He's like, all right, I love all of you. I love that big personality. And it is the opposite of him. He is like calm, steady, has the same face, whether he's happy or bored or whatever. He is like steady.
We're talking World Series of Poker earner.
Yeah, right. He is face. Like, yeah, totally. He literally has that poker face. And he has always allowed me to be everything I am. And because of that, he provided me this like strong, stable, like foundation that I was then able to change and fix my life. And he didn't come in and say, let me change and fix you.
Because that's also professionally he excels at.
Right.
And he's running the odds about this girl I partnered up with.
Right.
And she's this, and it's like getting to this point.
Yeah.
And he still bet on you. Way to become a good investment, hon.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. I hope he feels like he won the tournament, the poker game. Won big with me. I think he says that a lot, or I remind him how lucky he is, but
Do you let it in?
I don't know, because I always feel like, well, I'm really sorry for all those years that I was like a mess. So I don't think I let it in all the time.
You don't.
I know, you can tell it. Yeah. I know.
Yeah. And that's why I love you, and I think that's why you're feeling inspired, is because, hey, I'm putting all this work and effort and I want it to just arrive.
Yeah.
It's not happening and it sucks.
Yeah.
And I'm here and we're going, because it's happening. It will yield itself to me, because I will be in a headlock until I'm almost going to pass out.
Right.
But I've never passed out yet.
Yeah.
So bring it, because I will get you.
I will keep going. Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. And, I was talking to him earlier, and we were talking about authenticity as being I think it's a destination that I will arrive at. And once I am authentic, I will be good. Right? And he's so wise. That's not authenticity. Authenticity is growing. It's constantly growing and becoming who you are. And so you are authentic when you're growing, when you're failing, when you're trying, when you're seeing what doesn't work. That is still authentic, because I can confuse authenticity with perfection. Mm. And that is...
It's so easy to shift the alcoholism into perfectionism.
Oh, yeah.
Or it was always there.
Always there. It was there first. Yeah. Because my first addiction was the eating disorder. 9 years old. 9 years old. I have a 9-year-old, and this girl of mine is strong and doesn't know a single thing about how her body looks in jeans or how she looks compared to her friends. And I was obsessed with that.
But you know what she does have? I'm not going to let you go, but you know what she does have?
Yeah.
She has the ability to care for that person.
Yeah.
She would have befriended you.
Yeah, she would have. And she would have loved me and accepted me. Yeah, she's a strong girl. And she's stronger at 9 than I was at 9, for sure. You know, my self-worth is something I've struggled with for my entire life, not feeling like I am worthy, not feeling like I am good enough, not feeling accepted. And I mean, that message came so early, and it affected me so much. And a few years ago, I was struggling with some of those feelings again. And I was really frustrated at the time because I thought I had worked through those. I've worked the steps a million times. I've been through a lot of therapy. I can look back on my childhood and my past and say, my family or my mom or whoever did
With
the best
wisdom
you could.
and perspective.
Yeah, and I can accept it and I
Grace.
can see it now for what it was, but that does not undo how I viewed myself for all those years and how I created this identity for myself. And so a few years ago, my grandmother died, and she was my mom's mom, and we had a strained relationship. I was one of the grandkids that was like wild and crazy, and she did not accept me, and she would do some really hurtful things and say some really hurtful things to me behind my back. And that always, because I am loyal, we talked about that too, I'm very loyal. And she, in doing those things, I felt like a grandma's only job is to love unconditionally. Like, that's all you have to do. And she didn't do that. And my mom was very much the same way, right? It was her mom. She was raised with that, and that was passed down to how she parented me. And so a lot of those feelings came up again when my grandmother died. And I was mad because my sister, who's like the golden perfect child, she's like crying when my grandma dies, like, oh my gosh, I've lost my best friend. And I'm like,
if you only knew.
Right? I was like, what the hell? And it made me feel worse because I thought, what was so wrong with me?
You're the girl on the outside.
Yeah. What was so wrong with me that Nana didn't love me? She loved you more. And so I felt like all of these feelings of worthlessness.
I loved like that, but they intentionally excluded you.
Yeah, for sure.
In the club.
Yeah, for sure. It was, yeah.
Ouch.
Ouch. And so I had taken all those feelings of worthlessness and shame, and I, through AA, had like worked through them, and I like put them on a shelf in a closet, and I closed the closet up. Like, okay, processed, done.
Got those trophies.
Yep,
done.
Here they are. They'll just stay in there. And she died, and it was like they all came spilling out. All of those feelings, again, were there. And I was angry at her at the time because I thought, you didn't love me. You were judgmental of me, and now your death is affecting me so much. I was so mad at her. Mm-hmm. And it spun me out for months. So she died in like in February or something, and I just like had this like emotional crisis, and I got this crazy anxiety and these panic attacks that were uncontrollable. And
that was new for you, huh?
Totally new, to the extent it was so strong. And I went to more meetings. I talked about it in meetings. I went to therapy again. I found a new therapist. I found a new doctor. We changed my medication. I read a bunch of books. I talked to all my friends. I talked to my husband. I read more scriptures. I did more. And it was
more Girl Scout cookies, everything.
Worked out more. And it was not enough. I was so so miserable. And I don't say this to be dramatic, but this is the truth. I was having a nervous breakdown. And I remember saying to my husband, I need to go to rehab. Not because I was drinking, not because I wanted to drink, but I felt like I needed to go somewhere that I could figure out what the hell was going on. Because one of the things we say in AA is you can't control people or places or things. You can only control yourself. And here I was in a situation where I could not even control myself.
Which had been your jam.
Yeah, control. And so I was like emotionally collapsing. And I didn't go to rehab, but I have this really good friend who was the church leader of mine when I was like a young girl. And she has always become close to me like a mom. And she moved to Utah a few years ago. And my husband's like, why don't you go visit her? Because she is like my rehab has always been since I was a teenager. Anytime anything is going on in my life, I'm going to call her and we're going to figure it out. Yeah. And so I came to Utah and I stayed with her for 2 weeks. And I sat in her. Yeah.
What did you see in her as a teenager that you just sensed that she had it figured out that your parents hadn't figured it out yet? So, because she became like somebody you could figure it out.
Yeah.
What did you sense at that time that she had that you wanted?
I sensed that she loved unconditionally. And she loved me unconditionally. And she got me. She
wanted to get you.
Yeah, she did. And she still does. And she's so important to me. And so I came and I stayed with her and I sat in her front room every morning and she had this beautiful view of the mountains and I sat there and I just prayed and I prayed and I read scriptures and I read hymns. And I remember one morning in particular, I opened the hymn book to Be Still My Soul.
Well, at this time, you weren't ignoring the spiritual self.
Right, no.
You had to practice around being connected to your faith. But while you were here in a place that you felt safe, that's the part of your life feeling good. Is that if I put time and energy and effort here, it's calling me along the way.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I could literally be quiet while I was here and feel God more.
Scary.
It was scary, but I knew that if I could do it, that he would be there for me because he has always been there for me. And
he knows that when you decide, it's on.
Yeah.
Right? I mean.
Yeah. And I sat there and I started praying, and I remember praying, saying, I have done everything I can think of to figure out what I'm going through, and I can't do it. I have gone to therapy. I have gone to more meetings. I have tried everything, and it was all me, and I was coming up short, and I knew it was because I was trying to carry it. And I had this desperation, and I remember just saying in prayer, take this from me. Take it. I cannot carry this anymore. It is too strong. It is too heavy, and it is killing me. And I will tell you, like in that moment where I said, God, I give this to you. Please carry this for me. It was lifted.
I get the sense, though, in that moment, too, you were willing.
Yeah.
You were also willing.
Yeah.
That if this is it, if it wasn't lifted, you had an attitude of, I will still figure it out. I just feel that when you were willing to accept it is when it got lifted.
Yeah, I was willing to accept. I think if he hadn't taken it from me, it wouldn't have been so much, I will keep figuring this out. It was, now I will give it to you. And I will stop trying to figure it out. I will just keep giving it to you and trusting that every single day you will hold it for me.
Surrender.
It was surrender
to your control freak.
Yeah, and it is the greatest, hardest thing. And I come to surrender always through massive amounts of pain. I wish I could like see a trial and be like, oh, I surrender. That's it. I give in. Like, God, you do it. Like, tell me what I should do. No, I'm going to try every single thing I can
lose
think
weight.
of.
So, okay, today I'm just going to eat less and exercise more. Okay.
And I will figure it out. And surrender for me is like one of the most sacred things I can do. And it is a gift that I give God. And I lay my surrender on the altar. And it's like my sacrifice to him. And I say, I give up. Take it.
Is it, if you were to look at your timeline, your book of you, is that where the relationship you and fear shifted?
Oh, yeah.
To now, it's not you against me, to, oh, I see you.
Yeah.
We partner up in this thing. Okay, I need you, and I want you at times.
Yeah. Yeah, fear is a guide for me. Fear either drives me to that point of surrender. Fear is a warning for me sometimes. Fear is like, it's a direction. Like, fear will point me in a different direction. But fear is still a liar.
The flight. It's still the flat on your face.
Yeah.
It's still the like slapping your face.
Totally. It will kick my ass. But fear is still can be tied up in lies. Lies of you're not good enough. Lies of you can't figure this out. You failed. You're not good enough. You never have been. Why would you think you are now? Like, fear still has this like duplicity for me.
But why did those lies work for you? Why did you let them work on you earlier? But now at this point, you've always known they were at
lies.
Best incomplete truths,
right?
Or they weren't right. You just sensed that they weren't accurate, but you let them work on you. And part of that's the alcoholic dynamic, and the alcoholism, and the system itself has to generate loyalty to unhealthy behaviors, because that's how the drinking happens.
Yeah.
And then it makes you feel like you're on the outs when you're really seeing it for what it is.
Right.
So maybe part of that's there. But for you to be willing to not be lied to, not accepted anymore at any degree.
Yeah. Even to myself.
Yeah.
Even to myself. And I think that is something that I've learned to do. We talked about this yesterday, is that I think recovery or growth or whatever it is in life, it is a mirror that we like come right up against, and we see ourselves for all of ourselves. I see the good, I see the things I like, but when I look carefully, I see the things I don't like. I see the parts of me that aren't true. I see the parts of me that are out of alignment. I see the yuckiness in me that I'm like, why the hell do I do that? And I come up against that mirror now, and I don't let fear say, run away. I come up against that mirror now and say, I will stand here and I will own exactly what I see, and I will make the changes I need to make so I can be my most authentic self.
As you were talking about the mirror, and you started telling me about the things that I like me, but when I get up close,
yeah,
I don't like this. I didn't actually hear you. I heard somebody else's voice.
Really?
I think you've practiced that idea so long that you think it's yours. Or maybe you adopted it. But then when you said, now when I look in the mirror, I accept me. When I think about you growing up, I think you've always liked all of you. When somebody said you're too much, your reaction was, well, I can be way more.
Yeah.
I like all my 5'1",
yeah,
all the way.
Yeah.
I don't need any more height. I'll give it all. I don't feel like you've ever not liked anything about you, actually.
Oh, that's deep. I don't know if I've even thought of it like that. I can see that could be true, that it's the message that I've been given, and maybe the message I've told myself that it is not the truth.
And you want to be a good daughter and a good girl.
Yeah.
And a good mom.
I just want to be accepted.
Yeah.
That is like our biggest human need, is acceptance and validation. And so I will become not myself.
Yeah, I'll develop a practice of rejecting myself.
Right, in order to get that from the people
Crazy.
that I needed it from
Thanks,
the most.
alcohol.
Yeah.
One of your many gifts for me.
Yeah, yeah. And I think that, I mean, my alcohol or my sobriety really started like my maturing. My grown-upness started when I got sober at 34.
Adulting, huh?
Yeah. Oh, it starts now?
all the
Okay.
way.
Yeah. I'm going to do it. And so, so I am it's not that I'm creating this new self. It's that I am creating it's not a new self. It's that I don't know how to say it. I'm creating a new idea of what I can become.
Are you creating space for your bigness finally?
Yeah. Yeah. That's what I'm doing.
To be all of you?
Yeah. That's it. I'm creating a place that I can be fully me. No more having to look a certain way. No more having to be accepted by men or making other girls jealous or...
You take so much more joy in your beauty now, don't you?
Yeah, and I don't own it. Really?
But it's a practice.
Yeah.
You're practicing it like you never have before.
Yeah.
To be beautiful your whole life and not think you're beautiful?
Yeah.
How crazy is that?
It's crazy.
And here you are working so hard just to accept the gifts that you uniquely can give. But as you're talking, your body is saying, I hear what your head is saying.
Yeah.
But your body, I feel like you feel more joy in your beauty than you did when you were half your age.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's true. I think that's true.
You know it's true.
That gives
this is all about powerful, right?
Yeah.
So let's go there.
Yeah. I
Big smiles. Yeah.
I know, because part
Take
of
a
it is
moment.
that I smile because I feel like you see me, and I
We
hate
don't have
when
to
you
talk to fill
see me
space.
too
Like, you
much.
feel this.
I just feel like I think I was told for so long that owning my beauty, owning my attractiveness, owning my
Sexuality.
was bad.
Sinful.
Yeah. Not just sinful, but I will tell you, I consciously remember a conversation with my parents because they never told me when I was little, you look so beautiful, ever. It was never like, oh, you look so beautiful.
Did Sis get it?
I don't
Or did she get
remember.
it for other things?
Yeah, I don't know. I can't, I was too self-absorbed. I don't know if she got
So
it
you
or
didn't
not.
get noticed for your spunkiness or your caring or your happiness?
Yeah, I got, it was a conscious thing my parents said to me at one point was, we didn't want to focus too much on how you looked and on your beauty because we didn't want that to be all you thought of or go to your head or be the most important thing to you. And it did the opposite.
Dominated the majority of
Dominated
your life
it. And that's
energy and
what
time.
it was like, oh, you don't see me now? Okay, what if I weigh this much? Do you see me now? What if I'm skinnier? What if I work out more? What if I run track harder than you thought I could? Will you see me now? What if, I'm this size? Like, it just became this obsession because I felt unseen, so I worked even harder to be seen, and it consumed me.
And the louder you got, and the more beautiful you got, and the skinnier or sexier or funner or drunker or wilder.
Right.
You didn't get the payoff from
No,
like
because
being that way.
I was less of me. I was less myself. And
then of course, you're my type of people. Well, if half is good, 4 times is better.
for sure.
Okay, I'll double down again.
Right.
Yeah. Oh, it must be me.
Yeah.
I'm not drinking hard enough.
Right.
Okay, I'm not being shameful as best as I can. I'll try that more.
Let me lean into that. Yeah. Yeah. So I always feel like there was this, my sister, we are very close in age. And so we were close in school, and we are opposite of each other. She is like the golden girl, meaning my sister like went to BYU. She had only a few boyfriends her whole life, and she got really good grades, and she was really smart.
Didn't get put time out when you're growing up.
No,
Yep.
no. She was never told she was too much. And I knew I could not be her, right? I just can't. You can't be a copy.
You didn't even want to, though.
I didn't want to, but teachers in school would, you're Hannah's sister. And I was like, there were parts of her that I didn't like, right? She could be really judgmental, and she could be really rigid and really excluding of others or things that didn't. Yeah. And so, I'm not safe. Yeah. And I thought, don't just say I'm Hannah's sister. I don't want to be Hannah's sister. I am going to be so different that you could never imagine that we are sisters. And so I swung this pendulum of, I'm going to be my own person. I'm going to be different. And what I became
is like everybody else.
Yeah, I just went past who I really was, which was in the middle somewhere, and I went to the extreme, and I was still unhappy. I was just as empty as if I had been trying to be her, because now I was trying to be so far the opposite. And that's not fair to her. I think I blamed her a lot, like it was her fault. Or something was wrong with her, and it was me in that family system trying to find my place.
Hey, well, she wasn't picking up the phone and texting you, hey, you know what, I want to have a relationship. Hey, I want to notice you for something. So she wasn't exactly doing that either.
No, yeah. We do it now, though, which is crazy. And I think that my family is drawn to me now out of respect.
Finally attractive.
Yeah, I'm finally accepted for all of me. This elusive thing that I never felt from them.
That you still flinch at?
Yeah, but I see it. My dad respects me so much because of the journey I've been through. My mom respects me. And I don't make my mom pay for...
That's not how it works.
The things she wasn't for me.
You respect you.
Right. And my sister respects me. My brother respects me because I am now operating from my authentic self. And I got to this authentic self by owning all the dark, all the bad, all the pain. And I have been able to transmute that into all of me. And so it's changed my family for sure. When one person heals, it heals everybody.
Including grandma.
Yeah. And I've been blessed in my sobriety that I was encouraged to go to an energy healer. I will try anything. Does that sound weird? I'm going to do it. I'm going to try it.
Unconventional?
Yeah,
game on.
For sure. My husband's like, what?
Funny, you're not afraid of that stuff.
Yeah, totally.
But you're afraid of telling you love yourself. So you're beautiful in the mirror.
Yeah, exactly. You want to wave wands around me and tap into my energy? Let's go there. Which is not what this was. But I went to this, it was like a motion code healing. And she kind of went back through my family generations, and it was funny. The person she landed on that I needed to work on healing the most was this grandmother. And emotion code healing kind of goes through different emotions that haven't been healed.
Real quick, let's interject the science here.
Yeah, please.
When something happens to grandma, it's embedded in the DNA, and it's there. So you don't have to have the experience that grandma had to feel the feeling. So for many of you, maybe alcoholism skipped a generation, but when you try it, it feels like coming home. It feels so natural. You're so good at it. It's because it's already in the DNA, and our bodies and the way we move forward is expressed based on how we show up and what shows up for us.
Yeah, and I think that unhealed pain passes down.
It's trapped in the bodies.
Yeah. And so all these emotions that she was able to identify that my grandmother felt were feelings.
You're carrying, literally.
Yeah. And they were feelings of not being good enough, feelings of not being accepted, feelings of judgment. And it was so crazy because I know that those are things my mom struggles with. And I was able to see that's what I struggle with. And so there's the generational pain that got passed down.
Did you have those experiences in your quiet moments that you felt the heaviness, the burden was not commensurate with just one generation? Mm-hmm. Sometimes I've observed people feel the heaviness. It's so heavy. It doesn't feel
all of you
like it's commensurate with what you've contributed to your world.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%.
So you to acknowledge that it's possible that you're now shouldering several generations of burden.
Yeah.
And that all I have to do is give it back.
Release it. And it was beautiful. Like this woman that I went to, she would like identify these feelings and these emotions. And then she was not of my religion. She was just this energy worker. And she would come up behind me to clear the energy. And she would say this prayer. And the prayer was something like, I release Hazel's grandmother from, and she would list all these feelings. And she would say, and I release her so that she can live to the full measure of her creation. And so Hazel can live the full measure of her creation. And if you're of my religion, like those words seem familiar. And I felt like that's, she wasn't able to live her full measure because she was weighed down by those emotional scars. And my mom was, and then I was.
And the family connection that is eternal feels like it strengthens now.
Yeah.
Instead of weakens or hurts or harms, now it becomes adaptive and healing and helpful versus maladaptive, harmful, and destructive.
Yeah. And, you know, we started doing work on what other pain do I carry? And I carried all this pain from my mom's dad, my grandfather, who was an alcoholic and who fought in World War II. He was Dutch, and he fought in the Belgium underground against the Nazis. And I don't know what he saw. I don't know what he experienced because he never talked about it. We know like one or two stories, but when she started pulling out...
So you know it was bad. It was heavy.
Yeah,
dark.
And I don't think he was naturally going to be an alcoholic, right? I definitely realized that he was an alcoholic as a way to deal with what he went through.
Dark.
Yeah. And so the feelings that she was pulling out that I carried of his were really heavy. And I remember she said to me once, she said, I've never worked on somebody that is carrying so much darkness from somebody else. And instead of feeling angry, instead of feeling like, well, that's not fair, why do I have to carry that? I felt honored.
Powerful.
Yeah.
Gifted.
I felt like I carry it because I'm the one who's willing to heal it.
You're fulfilling your purpose because going back to what was your relationship with pain, you love it.
I love it.
I know it's there to serve a greater purpose.
To teach me. And so coming face to face with his pain and realizing that I was carrying it, I felt honor that I could be the healer. And she said her prayer, you know, of releasing him and living the full measure of his creation. And I remember like this tangible feeling of him saying, thank you. And I felt like him exhale, like he could finally be at peace. That's an honor that I have.
The richness that you felt in that moment.
Yeah. And that's because I am a feeler. That's because I am an empath.
Because you're too much.
I am too much. I feel too much, and it's too much for some people. And I drank to not feel too much or to, you know, make sense of that. And here I was given this opportunity where I was able to realize that that was my superpower. That wasn't a weakness. That was a pretty amazing experience that I had.
Now that's winning together. Thank you for staying with us too, all the way through, because what an engaging, outstanding, powerful, crazy, scary, awesome conversation. Mm-hmm. I'm very grateful that you honor your inner wisdom and you honor your inspiration and practice acting on it. Because I know that you know that I know that you know that we know that somebody who hears this need to hear it. Need to hear it right now. And thank you for listening. We see you. We're going to bring it and give it and do it. We're in the arena with you. We have no perception that we've got it handled.
Yeah.
And that's why we handle it. And that's how we handle it is we.
Yeah. And that is, you're right. That is why we win together, because we are all in the fight.
Come be in the fight with us. Come win with us. Come find out how to do it. We will get in there with you and do it. And the joy, the richness, the elevation, the beauty, the fulfillment is real. And of course, ours gets deeper, richer, fuller the more we give it. So right. We can give it by serving you maybe through I Am Recovery, imrtc.com or 801-407-9998. And one other thing I just really love that you shared is it wasn't the alcohol and it wasn't the drinking and the blowing of the family. You had a breakdown. Mm-hmm. And that your skills of recovery had to come to bear on something that was not in addiction or substance or, abuse. It was, I can't figure this out. And that's where your skills came to bear. And that's what I love about what we do here is recovery is all of us, all the time. That's how we do joy. Your glow is beautiful. Your heart that you shared and your openness, touching. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Hazel, I put fear in a headlock. Mason, thanks for coaching me today.
Thank you.
This is Shay, the Rad Warrior Azlet. Win, go. Option to not win, that's fine too. We love and see you anyway. Have a great day, everybody.